Good morning, you guys. If anybody's up, my husband woke me up playing Mercy Me songs, and it sounded so good. Um, and I'm not going to say that word so much. This is me. This is how I woke up looking this morning. I did brush my teeth, but not my hair. One of the songs that was playing is the reason I had to actually get up when my husband left and grab some paper to get a thought out of my head. It was a song that they wrote about if he could go back and talk to, the 8-year-old him and the abusive part of living with his dad when he was little. And I see the picture in my head, and sometimes it's hard for me to take the images from my head and put them on paper. But I wanted to be able to, have you guys on the journey with me. I'm putting myself out here. Hey, Vanessa, and you guys, I've had crying eyes. I mean, I just laid in there listening to that and just squalling. And you guys probably hear the dishwasher behind me. And I did turn it this time. That's our coffee station behind us. But the reason I love chickens, and they remind me of my grandmother. And this is going to tie in Vanessa. My mother, MawMaw will tell you I go around the world to tell a story. There were 6 of us kids. And I grew up in a time that, there was no DHR. Parents could just beat their kids if they wanted to. You didn't have to have a reason. Nobody got involved. But my grandmother, when we moved out here from California, she had chickens. And she'd tell us kids, leave those chickens alone. They roosted in the trees. So, of course, we would shoo and holler, and they just all go up in the trees. But watching a mother hen protect her biddies, her babies. When there's a hawk, when there is a hawk or something flying around overhead, the mama will call up her babies and get them under her wings. My grandmother was like that with us kids. She was mostly like that with me and my sister. It's 2 years older, not the one you guys have seen on Bible study, but my sister lives in Florida. So on her that stayed on her stove, and Vanessa, I know you've seen them, and if you ever go thrifting, it's for deviled eggs, and you have the salt and pepper shaker that sits up there. Well, hers was, a rooster and hen salt and pepper shaker, but that's what she kept her spoons on. So Nanny was the mother hen to me and my sister. She loved all 6 of us, but a lot of the family dynamics changed when my 3-year-old brother got hit by a car. But as I look back through my childhood, even back when we lived in California and I was a child, things that I did not remember until, one of my sisters said, well, that was going on when we still lived in California. So, it made me who I am. And so this morning when Mercy Me was on, and he was talking about his childhood, it really, all I could do was sit there and cry. You know, he talked about his abusive father, but yet when his father got cancer, that's when he changed. And I guess it doesn't matter what part of your life that you change as long as you do. But as a child, when you grow up with abuse, you can either make it right in your heart, but I still get in my head. And maybe that's where Norgus comes from, you guys. I really think she was my imaginary friend in California, and I really think, yeah, Vanessa. So I call Norgus that little impish girl inside of me that is the creative part. So what I've had to do, and this will be a journey, and I think I entitled it Little Me. I will have to sketch it off on paper. I did write on it Little Me. And then I am going to try to do it on some acrylic paper, and it won't be today because I've got to get my mind right. But I'll tell you what I see from listening to that this morning. And there I was looking straight ahead at my grandmother's dressing table, the kind that has drawers on each side and the mirror, the big mirror, and it's to sit there and, get dressed or whatever. I was looking at it. And as this guy was telling his story, I look back at little me. I see little me up under, curled up on myself, up under that dresser. And I'll talk to you, Vanessa, since you're here. I see little me, a little girl that could not have done, what could I have done, at 6, 7 years old? What? And I see me hiding from the fighting and the fussing, the cussing, the blows, whether it's one of my siblings getting beat with the belt or one of them getting beat with the switch. One parent favored the belt, the other favored the switch. Or the tongue lashings. I'd rather took the belt than any of the verbal things that was said to me from the time I could remember. So I'm laying there listening to that, that guy talking, and I told my husband, I said, this must be why those songs touch me. But I see me, Vanessa. I see me. Little girl, I would always find somewhere to curl up and grab my knees, lay my head down, and I would either sing the songs that my sister sung to me, Shelter in the Storm, or other songs. But the picture that I have to do now, that I'm going to have to make, is of a little girl up under my nanny's dresser and wings around the dresser. So somehow I have to make it come together and then show you guys the finished product. And now this is just very me drawing it off on plain paper. But I'm getting this, and I'm going to show you. All right, but there has got to be my angel wings, you guys, is going to have to wrap around the dresser to show what was sustaining me back then. Vanessa, let me tell me if you can see it. Okay. That's what I am going to create. That's going to be me. And I'm going to draw the angel wings because that's what sustained me. That's what I went to. I wish I could say as I grew up, I was a better mother. I was a better mother, but a parent, I will say. But I had a lot of things to learn when my stepdaughter comes to live with us. I tried so hard, I over tried to do things right. And I saw a lot of my mom come out in me with my stepdaughter. Oh, and so I worked extra hard. I did not want to be that person because she was already dealing with being done like I was as a child. And the harder I tried not to be, I just had to pray, for the Lord if I could not be the mom that she needed to be, because it was a lot of custody stuff. She lived with us 3 years, and it was the hardest thing when my husband let her go back to her mom. Casey was little, and we went from having one kid, Tiffany, to 3 at one time. Tiffany went from being the only child around to being a middle child to a new baby and an older stepsister. But I tried harder. And there were things that mimicked with me and Kevin that mimicked the stuff that I remember. I always said my kids would not grow up. They would not grow up around drinking. They would not grow up to hear fussing and arguing and all that. But it happens. But we become better people. Kevin is the man God let me see. God let me see him before he was who he is. When his father passed, he became the head of the household. And that's Kevin. He became like head of MawMaw, and his brothers and his sister would come to him, so he's like dad to them, even though he's the middle child. And in saying that, the little girl in me always went to drawing because that was what my dad encouraged from the time I could pick up a pencil. And my mom loved my artwork. And driving across the desert, hey, if you've never driven from California to Alabama with 6 kids and a teenager, that makes 7 in the back seat, in a car back in 1971 with no air condition, you haven't lived. I'm telling you. Yeah, we made that trip. 3 oldest kids were born out here in Alabama. Me and my younger brother that's 2 years younger, and then my last brother that was born in 1970. We 3 were born in California. I say we got the blue eyes. Alabama ones got the brown eyes. Vanessa, we can be. We can be, because my dad, he was a rounder. I love him. And as I got older, he told me a lot of things that, my mom would always tell me that as a kid that Hero worshipped her daddy And I did. You know, I'd always be told, why do you love him? He did this, this, and this, and I heard that as far back as I can remember. Well, you know what? My dad did. And he did tell me. He told me at a time that I had my first husband that, he cheated on me. He did, a lot of mental abuse for 2.5 years. And I asked my dad, I just saw me and him were in the car, and he said, well, baby, he said, I don't know what to tell you. He said, it happens sometimes. And I said, well, Dad, but you didn't. Now here I am. I'm 21 years old. I should know the ways of the world, but my dad was my hero. Even though as a teenager, some of the worst physical abuse came from him. But he told me, he said, I'm not proud of it, but sometimes when, there's arguing, there's fussing at home, a man will go and, try to find somebody, that's not like that. So I cried. I cried for my mom, and it just verified that I still love my dad. But the whole thing of that, they always encouraged my artwork. So cactus, I would get a pencil, and the favorite thing to draw would be the silhouettes of the desert, beautiful desert colors, sunsets, with the cactus in the background. And Vanessa, I still have all those, all of my artwork as far back as I can remember. And I also have those journals. Yes, I still do. And I also have my journals all from 1976 until recent. I just haven't written in this one, but it's probably been a month. Some of my artwork, I will. And now when I do this, it's going to be hard because, I have this thing about angel wings. So this is going to push me out of my comfort zone. Not to do the me and the mirror and all of that. And you know what? I think now that I said it, Vanessa, I'm glad you're on here with me, because it's just it's helping me to focus on talking to you and telling the story. But you know what, Vanessa, you're first on hand to get to see this. When I start drawing it off, and then as I paint it, I'll do other videos. But right there in that mirror, that's going to be me now. That will be the me that I see now. How does that sound, Vanessa? How does that sound? So, like I said, is now so I get like anxiety. When I start something like this, it's like my chest gets tight, and I'm like, well, am I really going to be able to do this? Do I have the ability to do this? And it's in here. It is in here. And Vanessa, I'm sure that you were on and you watched the interview with Heather Hale, Dwayne's wife. When you are on antidepressants and different medications, it almost pushes down your creativity. I never thought about it until my aunt told me. I come from very creative people. And Casey comes from it on both sides. My mother-in-law, MawMaw, his Aunt Karen, which is my sister-in-law, she's just multi-talented. So Casey, my kids get it from both sides of the family. But, Heather, like she said, it will, and my aunt told me that she said, antidepressants make it harder for you to create. So I think that put that in my head a little bit that, oh my gosh, once we finish that room in there, I'm not going to be able to create. What if I don't have that ability anymore? What if I don't have that gifting? Oh, I had all these things swirling around. He blessed me with stories as the people at work. Bless her. One of the girls would say, Miss Darlene, you got a story today? What's MawMaw been doing? She been getting in any trouble? What's Junior been doing? So that young lady loved to hear my stories. But the things in my head, I was, and fear does not come from the Lord. Fear comes from the devil. If God gives you an ability and he gives you a gift, and it's a gift, everybody has a different gift. And then all of a sudden you start questioning, do I still have that gift? Well, if I can see it in my head, then it's in here. And I have locked it away. So I am saying publicly today, I still have my gift, Vanessa. And it will be a journey. And yes, there'll be stories along the way. And I had to come in the kitchen so I'd be more comfortable. Found that out yesterday when we made chili. And when Gina come over, I said, well, I don't know why I was easy to sit in here and talk while Casey made the chili. She said, then do things where you're most comfortable. It is, Vanessa. So you know what? I might have to draw off my stuff in here at the kitchen table. And then take you guys later into my room where I have lighting and I can have all my tools around me. But Vanessa, the hardest part is here. Let's see. The hardest part's here because that's it. That's my start. And, I come on here with my pajama. Well, I have another thing that I thought, okay, well, let me throw something over that. But this is me. And that's what I got from, people that do this. Mama Kelly, Hip Mama, because I'm older than her and I don't like calling her Mama, but Hip Mama, and Kimmy, and so many more that make it just look so easy and just be myself. And I don't want to leave anybody out, in the jewelry community that I've watched, that make it look like it's so easy. Yet some of them I know that, they're not that easy, really. They don't like going on camera. Vanessa, you'll get there. You'll get there. And, I just have to stay on track. So I'm so glad you come on here. Because, a lot of people try to blame it on medicine. I ain't taken nothing this morning. But you know what? Some people's personality is just as it is. And mine has always been, we call it swirling here in the South. You get one thing on your mind and you're having a conversation. You'll be like, oh, wait, did you know so-and-so did this? Yeah. Did you know that happened? And then we come right back and pick up where we left. Drove my grandson crazy until one day he was in the back seat with me and his mom, and he was like, I don't have things in order, Vanessa. Not in my mind. But my grandson said, Mom, that was rude. How come you just interrupted when Mama was talking? That was just rude. And I told him, I call him too. If he comes across this, that's okay. I said it on YouTube. What's on YouTube stays on YouTube. But I told him, I said, That is not rude. That's how we do. I said, so if I'm talking to you and I look over at the car dealership that we passed and I said, oh, look at that Jeep. Ain't it cool? Wow, I like that color. And I said, and then I start back talking to you. I said, that's not rude. I said, we call that squirreling, like the squirrel running across the road, don't know which way to go. That's how my mind is, and that's how Tiffany's is, and that's how Casey's. Well, Casey has to have things more in order. So bipolar, I'm sure I was diagnosed. No, I have enough on me to mess it. I mean, when you start with the physical ailments I have, that's enough. The mental stuff, you know, I had nightmares, and from the time I guess I was in the baby bed crib or whatever, it transferred into getting up in my sleep and running, fighting people in my sleep, all the way up until I got medicated when I was 30. So from the time that I could walk and run and have nightmares and all of that up until a doctor finally gave me something. And even, you know, my husband he had to put up with that too. But I would be the one up in the middle of the night watering the grass at 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning, because I couldn't shut my mind off. And hey, Traci. So I was medicated to help me stay in bed. I have to be medicated at night so I don't get up in my sleep. And, you know, yeah, I don't know what the stressors were. I went to a grief counselor when my last brother living was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And I went to a grief counselor. And at that time, me and my daughter weren't on good terms, and it helped me with that too. And I went to counselor for my stepdaughter when she first came to live with us, but that was to learn her. I never learned me. So when I started going to the grief counselor, because it was paid for through my work, I talked a lot. You know, I just said things that I had never said. I told him about my background. You know, I told him all the things that I had never told, but not quite everything. There were still things locked away. But I think that's where a lot of my imagery comes from. And my sister Irene told me when I brought everything in, I said, look, I can't stay depressed in bed all the time. I've got to start making things. I've got to create. So I started bringing all my artwork from the shop and bringing it in little by little. And you're right, Vanessa. You know, bring that here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Bring it here. Come here. Woo. You guys, let me stand up. She knows she is wrong that I'm talking to my pup. She is sitting there knowing that she is wrong for what she's doing. She's not been in something. Hey, give me that. No, ma'am. No. I'll give you a bone, but you're not going to chew on that. Here, go. Behave. So, my sister Irene, and when I see Traci's site says, who's your Nana? Every time I see that, I'm Nanny. That's what my kids, I wanted to be Nanny because my grandmother was Nanny. And that's what I strove for, was to be the nanny that I had, you know. So anyway, every time I see your name, Traci, that I love it. And I watched one of your videos you uploaded about the person bumping you with you know, while you had your cane. And I said, oh, goodness. I just don't, I don't have much patience for people that, um, don't have patience with somebody that is, we might look fine, but they don't see our bodies. They can't see within us. And so, anyway, like I said, I got off on that one. Got off. Oh, my sister. All right. So my sister told me, she said, "What when you start drawing, don't draw none of that, some of that stuff. Don't do any of that demonic stuff." And I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Well, just okay." Me and Casey had this discussion yesterday. Or Geisha Treasures, Traci, if you haven't been to, I know, I think you come to our Bible study sometimes, which is the Porch Church Network. But Geisha Treasures is Casey. That's my son. I told him yesterday, I said, I love the human body. I love the way God made us. And the skeletal part of the human body is amazing to me. I love it. So skulls, I like it. So when I start creating things, I'm seeing things from a different angle since we started, Porch Church. And as we read through some of the stuff about what was seen, the imagery of the different faces on, the wings and, all of that imagery from the Bible, I will draw from that. And I want to create some of those images. And, it won't be demonic. It will be just what is in my head. My gift does not come from Satan. My gift comes from God. But I do like, different things. But for sure, the first thing, other than my God jars, I got 5 of them done Saturday. And I'm not going to say any names live until people get them. But I have a lot more to do. And Traci, I know you're just meeting me. When jewelry was heaped upon us by April, and April got Casey started in the jewelry community, all of the throwaway jewelry I got. She brought me a box, a huge box, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And I had to pull jewelry out, Now people would send that to somebody and say, 50-pound jewelry box. So our kitchen table was nothing. You'll see. Let me see. I did a video and showed some, but I had jars in here and I was trying to sort colors. So I'm like, okay, when Casey gets me an order and I start making things and using jewelry in with my multimedia, my medium, in with my creativity, I can use this broken jewelry and stuff. But I needed a way to see it and know what was in the jars. So I started throwing away all of the containers that I couldn't see through and started collecting jars. And I started decorating the top. So I was like, okay, this is the things in this jar. And so Casey come to me one morning and I won't name names, on here, but he said, Mom, do you have one of your pretty jars? He said, I want to send it to someone. He said, because I just really feel like, she's down in her spirit and I want to send her something to make her feel better. And I told him, I said, well, okay, well, let me look. And, I kind of run my hand over them and looked at the jars and thought of, she was one of my first people that I had met in the community. So I took that one jar in there and I asked Casey, I said, well, how's this? And it already had a Bible verse. There was a Bible verse on the bracelet, stretchy bracelet that I had around it. And it was a Starbucks jar. And, Casey put the scripture in it and he mailed it. He said, Mom, this is like a God jar. And he said, where you have your God box that you're putting all of your prayers and stuff in, and you put all your worries in, Casey talked about that. He has talked about that on Porch Church Network. He said, Mom, you could make these. He said, a lot of people out there, they would like a jar to put their prayers in, and that's what they are. And then April gave me a Bougie Bear. That's what she goes by, Traci. If you don't know April, she's Bougie Bear on YouTube. But she brought me a fancy one. She brought me one that is like gold inlaid, and the bottom of it's a mirror and glass top. And I keep that on my bed. So if I worry about something, I will just tear off a piece of paper and fold that paper real small, and I put it in that box. And there's one worry that every now and then creeps up, and I write in the journal or I write in a special book when that worry comes up. And I'm like, what am I doing? God's done told me he's got that. So I done folded up another one and put it back in there. But yeah. So that's what the God jars are. And that's another thing, that as I come across anybody that wants one, I don't charge for God jars. Now, I'll be doing other things with jars and I'll be making other things that I will try to sell. Not no get rich thing. Because, hey, Leticia, I hope I'm not on nobody else's time because I looked and I didn't see anybody. Yeah, and they're therapeutic to me to make, Traci. And Vanessa, we're talking about with TC, we're talking about me making God jars. And also I'm going to be doing a painting. It's going to be called Little Me. And I showed earlier. It's going all right, that's going to be the little me hiding under my nanny's dresser. That's going to be the me now in my mirror, and those are going to be angel wings. And I explained the story of this when I first started. But that's what I'm going to be doing on this channel. I felt better when Casey was with me and getting the craft room in order. Love you, Vanessa. Thank you. Thank you, Vanessa, for making this easier for me. And I love you. So I didn't think I'd be able to do this without Casey with me. And so Vanessa came in this morning. Thank you, Leticia. So I've talked to Vanessa like she's sitting at my kitchen table. Get out there, Vanessa. And look, you guys, I came with bad head, but I just had this feeling after this morning, snot and crying, my husband in there listening to Mercy Me. And then I went in there and listened to it and listened to the story of the lead singer and how he wrote some of his music. And it inspired me because he wrote a song if he could talk to his 8-year-old self. So it inspired me to talk to my little girl self that would, during times of family uprisings when I was real little, I would go hide and just close myself in And so I come in here at the table. I thought, I have to draw this off. And I thought, well, let me go live because that's what my room's going to be like. So I'm like, let me cover up my spaghetti strap pajama. And do I do anything to my hair? Okay, no, I'm sorry. I see so many videos of you inspiring women that look beautiful, beautiful when you come on. Just beautiful. But you guys, this is just me this morning. I'm just me. Can't see my eyebrows. But I'm happy this morning. God woke me up. Well, the dog woke me up. And when I was in the kitchen putting up my dishes and making coffee, and I heard my husband in there listening to Mercy Me, the things that I listen to, he woke himself up to something positive, and it was a real positive thing this morning. Thank you, Leticia. That's what Kelly told me to do, and that's what Kimmy said, and that's what Todd said. That's what Thelma told me. Everybody has said just, yeah, just, I have, my son calls my lips corpse lips because I didn't get what my mother-in-law has. Her and my sister-in-law they have color to their lips all the time. And you know what? I don't. I have eyelashes, but guess what? They're blonde. They're the color of, basically my eyebrows. And if I let my hair grow out, that's the color my hair would be too, is blonde. So my son sometimes talks about my corpse lips. So here, this is me. First thing in the morning, this is what my husband loves to see. And this is how God made me. He made me chatty. He made me creative. And yes, I will be working on the little me. That's what I'm going to call it. I've got it down on notebook paper now, and then I will eventually do it in acrylic. And I don't know if I'll do it on the hard or one of these thicker sheets like this, or if I'll actually do it on a canvas. But I don't know. The more I sketch it off and get it right in my head, I'll know what I'll put it on. But now I do have some little baseball boys, ceramic baseball boys. Somebody gave me about 8 of them. She used to do crafts, and she gave me about 8 of them. I'm gonna make zombies and zombie fighters. Some of them be zombies, some of them won't. And that's what I'm gonna do. Now I'll be showing as I do those. I'll have them showing. But right now, Casey, bless his heart, he has done 5 rooms in this house, and he's where God wants him to be. I told him to pray about taking a part-time job because he's going to do a part-time job. He felt bad about, just doing the jewelry and taking care of me, taking care of my mother-in-law. And he really has done a lot in the house. And when it came to the day he was supposed to start a part-time job, I told him, I said, Casey, have you prayed about whether or not you should take that part-time job? I said, you just need to pray about it. I said, don't worry about, I said, I feel right about what you're doing. And what he's doing, you guys, is working his tail off, doing what I used to do, but I can't do now. So he has organized now it's going to be our Crawley Craft Room or art studio. He's done that, and he, decorated my bedroom, done things, and, helped me just to say, donate. And then he got in that room, and there's some of those Traci videos of us working in, that room. This house has big rooms. and he's doing in MawMaw's room. So he has basically done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's been doing 5 rooms plus the front porch. And he is OCD, so he has a certain way he does things. So, you know, God's blessed me with that he can organize in that room in there. So when it's finished, well, when it gets a little bit more, we had to take some of MawMaw's stuff and put in there, and then he will put it back in her room organized. So that's when he'll finish organizing. Leticia, I'm blessed. Because you never know what God intends. You know, you never know. And him moving back home, you know, he moved out 18, moved in with his sister, Tiffany, his best friend. And then, he moved back home. And Casey could always find a job. He got to where he worked from home. And very good tech support. So Traci, Leticia, if you guys ever need help with tech support, Casey's there. And if you ever just need somebody spiritually talk to, God has moved in great ways, because when he turned down, he just turned down the part-time job and prayed about it. The Porch Church Network subs, it doubled. You guys, it doubled. And his channel, his channel has grown. So, it was almost like the Lord, knew what he had in store for him. But, we have to go with it's free will. So, I mean, he said, what do I do after I'm through in the house? Ladies, are we ever through in our house? It is a never ending thing. But I told him, I said, well, son, don't feel bad. You know what? We'll start outside, and, we'll go out to your dad's shop. You can't organize his shop. That's a no-no. But we can throw away what needs to be thrown away. And I say I basically have to sit there, and tell them, that's good, or throw it away, because although if I put on my makeup and everything and go out and I'm having a good day, Traci, somebody looks at me and they'll think if we park in handicap, ain't nothing wrong with them. Why? But yeah, there's days, Traci, when I watched your video, I knew where you were coming from. Yeah, Leticia, that's something that from a little child, I have always, I had Jesus and my nanny, and I always tried that my happy place when I was raising the kids would be when I would, sing to them and rock in the rocking chair, and I'd sing to them. And if my husband's working night shift or he was driving a truck over the road, my kids slept with me. They were my comfort. I was to comfort them, of course, but they were mine. They were my gifts from God, because God knew I was not, a be by myself person. And when I was pregnant with my daughter, and my ex-husband was gone on a week-long at Christmas time hunting expedition, and I was left at home pregnant by myself and 20 years old, I can remember rubbing my belly and talking to my baby. And I told her, I didn't know if it was a her or him. Back then we didn't know. This was 30, oh goodness, I'll be 54. So I rubbed my belly and I said, you know what? I will never be alone again. I will never, after this day, after you come, I will never be alone. And you know what? That was God's way of telling me that I was going to be okay. And from that moment, no, I was never alone. Because after that, Tiffany, when she's a year old, right before she turned a year old, I stopped putting up with stuff. And I met my mother-in-law and we were friends. And when, X walked out on Father's Day, no more begging, no more pleading. Okay. That Monday morning, I saw a divorce attorney. Could I have had that backbone had it not been for meeting Frances, which you guys is Xshydovex, and everybody, when she comes in, everybody says, "Hey, MawMaw." But she and I worked together in the mill for, oh my gosh, we were friends 3 months before I ever met my husband. But I still didn't share a whole lot of what was going on at home, my home life. But I talked to her. I didn't have nobody else that I talked to. I could have. My sisters told me I could have, but I talked to MawMaw. And she told me, I asked her, I said, I came up here. I lived down the road. I lived in Beauregard where all those tornadoes ripped through a while back, like last month. And I remember calling her crying. And I said, "Can I come up there and see you?" And she said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "This certain person, they left. They walked out." And she said, "Yeah, come on up." So I got in my car, come all the way up here. And she and I went to the lake. We went walking because that's what we would do after we worked third shift, and we'd go walking every day. And I asked her about, a divorce attorney. And she said, "Well, baby, don't jump into anything." And I said, 3 strikes, you're out. I'm through. I'm just through. So that Monday morning, I filed for divorce. And of course, I had to pay for it. And again, I wasn't by myself. God put Frances in my life. And even though I had my mom watch my daughter while I worked third shift, and I would feel lonely, without her right with me, but I was working third shift 7 days. No child support, no nothing. I was a single mom. So by the time Kevin met me, he saw strength that, hey, here's this single mom. She's doing everything on her own. And that's how we got together. But I was never alone, Leticia, because I still had my nanny at that time. She was taken with cancer, but I still had her and the love of my uncles that were like parents to me. And I would surround myself. And then I had my kids, and then they had their friends that come over. I surrounded myself with things like that. And that's who I am. And I guess maybe this should have been my intro instead of the super spiced up one that was very forced and very uncomfortable. And I'm like, oh no, Casey. He said, "Mom, just be yourself. Just be, don't force it. Just be yourself." And I didn't realize it till I did the chili video yesterday. But okay. And this morning I woke up and the whole thing, I saw the painting in my head that I'm going to do. And I'll be showing pictures of that, but I'll also be showing, taking Starbucks coffee, iced coffee jars, making them into prayer jars for anybody, that wants them. No, don't, somebody asked me, well, why don't you sell those, or how much you, no, that those are God gifts, God jars. That those can't be sold. No. And you guys, yeah, I mean, me and him, I joke and say me and my mother-in-law, me and her have been together, oh my gosh, since I was 21 and I'll be 35. We've been, I always say our anniversary was on her birthday. And then I met my husband. So yeah, I mean, I was his second wife, and but I wouldn't take anything. That's why that song that we sung, I think we sung it, yeah, on one of the Bible or Bible Network. Hey, I'm not a singer, but I did sing it because I wouldn't take nothing for my journey now. And Traci, I wouldn't go back. I mean, if I could, I wouldn't change nothing. You think you would. You think you'd pop a knot on that cheating person's heart or do a lot of things. And I'm not proud of it, but I did pop a knot a couple of times on them. But I wouldn't change anything because I am who I am. And when Casey is in his, when he is in his, our Bible channel and he's testifying to his life, and he'll say, well, Mama said this and Mama said that, and she taught us this and she taught us that. If I had not went through what I did, then I would be a different person. And if my husband had not worked nights and me leaned on my kids and just pour Jesus that come from me into them, and I say Casey a lot. My daughter Brandy, the oldest Brandy, she lives in Noonan or close to Atlanta, and every now and then I'll call her and just touch base, see how she's doing. And then Tiffany, that's the one that I rubbed my tummy and said I'd never be alone again. She's had to go through a hard time. She had gastric bypass, and then like months later, he had to do gallbladder surgery, and it had. I'm trying to think of how to say it. It just about what he did. The doctor, he cut through her aorta during a routine gallbladder surgery, and he come out and told me that she had died on the table, and it took 12 of their best to bring her back. Their best didn't bring her back. God brought her back, and for a reason. But she has had to struggle. She is, malnutrition, and has been now for goodness, 8 years maybe now, and depression. It has really done a number on her. But I'll have her over here one day, and so you guys could see her bright and cheery self. And you know what? I have been on here too long. It is 8:46, and now old lady dog's getting tuned in, and my puppy chasing the cat. They are really going to get crunk. So you guys, Traci, I am so glad to meet you. Leticia, I love you. And Leticia, she already knows my silly side and Casey's silly side. I mean, I have to really try to watch those manic highs and overly silly. But Traci, yeah, and tune in. We do it at 11 o'clock Eastern time. Casey, in fact, in a little bit, he gets it ready about 10 or so. See you at church. Oh, Leticia, girl, you better come on our church channel. I do talk in the background. And I said, why is this so hard when I talk during Bible study, or I've sung during Bible study, and it's just what, it was just hard to start doing this. But the little me, you guys are in the first batch. I will do the little me painting, and you guys will know, wow, I get to see that from beginning to end. And you guys were with me. I'll try to be more put together at church this morning. But I love you guys. Anybody else that comes across this video, just remember, God loves you. And no matter what happened when you were a child, no matter if you were the little me hiding from abuse under a dresser, just know that you had the angel wings around you then, and God's there for you now. All he ever wants us to do is be ourselves, ask for help, love the ones that's in our life, the ones that might drift out of our life, reach out to them. Because in my immediate family, I lost my baby brother when he was 3. Then I lost my oldest brother when I was 30. And then I lost my next younger brother. He never saw 50. I lost him about 3 years ago. And then, my dad's gone. So half my family are gone. So try to reach out. And even if you have to love from afar, pray for those that you can't love up close. Reach out to those that you can. And you know what? If you have to, get in your car, ride down the road, knock on the door, and touch them and hug them. Because there's those out there that feel like they're alone, and they're suffering alone in their head. And they shouldn't have to. So I've got it in the screen. Thank you guys, and love all of you. And don't forget the Porch Church Network, where everybody is welcome to come and hear the word and get love. Love you, Leticia and Traci and Vanessa. I had to leave. Vanessa, thank you for letting me talk at you today, Vanessa. And let me see if I end this correctly. Let me see. Bye.